Chapter 6393. Maria's words also gave Charlie some inspiration. He pondered for a moment and murmured to himself. Although Meng Changxing had been obsessed with immortality all his life, he still had some remaining emotions. When he had just achieved some results in his Taoism, he did make a special trip back to fulfill his promise to the ancestor of the Jiang family. It was a pity that the ancestor of the Jiang family was not blessed and did not wait for him for a few days. After that, he was in seclusion in the 10,000 mountains. And he was not able to stay out of the world and avoid the hustle and bustle. When he saw Senior Lin and Victoria being hunted by the Qing army, he, as a Han Chinese, also lent a hand to the two. So it seems that when he gave Senior Lin the ring in the hope that he would support the Han dynasty, it was not just a casual remark. In his opinion, this ring could really support the Han dynasty in that era. Otherwise, if it only had the function of teleporting in times of crisis, how could it have killed millions of soldiers of the Qing dynasty at that time? At this point, he asked Maria, "Miss Lin, what other hidden abilities do you think this ring has?" Maria said, "I dare not say anything about the others. But the recipe for the eternal pill should be related to the ring. Victoria's biggest motivation for wanting it is to get the pill. The recipe for this pill will start in the next 500 years. Charlie nodded and smacked his lips and said, "Perhaps it is also a magic weapon that contains an attack formation. But I am not strong enough and have not yet discovered its ability in this regard." As he spoke, Charlie held the steering wheel with one hand and took out the ring from his pocket with the other hand. He pinched it between his fingertips and wondered. When Meng Changxing gave the ring to Senior Lin, the Qing army had already swept across the Central Plains. If he really thought that this thing could help Senior Lin support the Han dynasty, then it must have the strength to resist millions of soldiers. Charlie suddenly felt a little yearning. If this speculation is true, then this ring should be a magic weapon. Of course, the ability of extreme teleportation is indeed very strong. But it looks more like a passive defensive life-saving skill. If you rely on this passive skill to overthrow the Qing court in that era, he will have to die at least tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of times. Moreover, the function of the ring cannot be recycled in this way. After each use, a large amount of spiritual energy must be injected into it. If it were not for the support of a large amount of elixirs, it would probably still be half dead and unable to recover. It would be a pipe dream to want to restore the ring. Therefore, if the ring is only capable of this, Meng Changxing gave it to Warren and asked him to go out of the mountains alone to support the Han dynasty. It is as unreasonable as the nine-headed insect in Journey to the West telling Ben Berber to get rid of Tang Monk and his disciples. At this time, Maria asked Charlie, "Young master, you have been injecting spiritual energy into it before. Have you ever tested how much spiritual energy it can hold?" Charlie shook his head and said self-deprecatingly, "Who dares to keep trying it? Every time I try, it can drain almost all of my spiritual energy in a very short time. I use cultivation pills to replenish the spiritual energy, and it will drain it all in an instant. This has been repeated several times and there is still no sign of it stopping. It feels like no amount of spiritual energy is enough to fill its needs. It's like a bottomless pit. I have a limited number of cultivation pills, so I have never been willing to try." Maria nodded slightly in understanding. Spiritual energy is extremely precious. If it is really such an endless attempt, it is really a bit heartbreaking. After saying that, she added, "But young master, this ring has saved your life after all. If you had not injected spiritual energy into it at the beginning, I am afraid it would not have played a decisive role at the critical moment. So I think that even if you increase your investment in the ring, you will definitely get its rewards in the future. It saved you once, and it will definitely not let you down in the future." Charlie nodded slightly and said, "After returning to China, I will take the time to refine another batch of cultivation pills. At that time, I will risk a furnace of cultivation pills to see what effect it has."